When my wife, Julia, came downstairs that evening, I did a double take. She wore a tight red dress, one she'd typically reserve for date nights or upscale events. Her makeup was immaculate, hair cascading in waves, and heels that clicked confidently across the floor. I raised an eyebrow and asked, "Big meeting tonight?" She smiled casually, saying it was just a client dinner. But something about her tone felt rehearsed, hollow. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But over the past few weeks, her late-night meetings and sudden business trips had become far too frequent. I had ignored the signs, convincing myself it was paranoia. But tonight, that dress wasn't for a boardroom. I could feel it. So, when she grabbed her keys and kissed me goodbye, I decided to follow. I waited a few minutes before getting into my car. My heart raced, not out of fear, but anticipation. I wasn't sure what I was about to find, but deep down, I already knew. I kept a safe distance, tailing her through the city streets as she navigated away from the business district and toward an area known more for its upscale lounges than corporate offices. Julia finally pulled into a dimly lit parking lot behind a trendy rooftop bar. I watched as she stepped out, adjusting her dress in the reflection of her car window. This wasn't a corporate dinner. This was a date. My grip on the steering wheel tightened, but I wasn't going to confront her yet. I needed to see for myself. From a discreet spot near the entrance, I watched her walk in, greeted not by a colleague or client, but by a sharply dressed man who leaned in far too close. His hand rested on her lower back as they disappeared into the bar. The image seared itself into my mind. It wasn't just a business dinner. It was personal. I debated confronting her right there, but my rational side told me to wait. I wanted to see how far this went. I slipped into the bar, staying in the shadows, watching as they took a private booth in the corner. His hand never left hers. Their laughter wasn't professional. It was intimate. They ordered wine, leaning into whispered conversations, sharing looks that only deepened the pit in my stomach. For years, I had trusted Julia, built a life with her. But now, under the dim glow of that bar, she was a stranger, entertaining another man while I sat just meters away, invisible. The man leaned in, kissed her cheek, and Julia didn't flinch. She smiled, as if it was normal, as if I didn't exist. I realized then that this wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. There was history between them. She had perfected this deceit. My phone buzzed, a message from Julia. "Meeting's running late. Babe, don't wait up." I stared at the screen, incredulous. The audacity stung, but it also clarified what I needed to do next. I wasn't going to cause a public scene. No shouting match. No tears. I would confront her when she least expected it. I slipped out of the bar unnoticed and drove back home. On the way, I crafted a plan, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. This marriage, built on trust, was already in ruins. She had made her choice. Now it was my turn. By the time Julia returned home, it was past midnight. She walked in, wearing a mask of exhaustion, claiming the meeting had dragged on. I simply nodded, hiding the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior. She had no idea that her facade had already crumbled. The next morning, I left a neatly packed suitcase by the front door with a note on top. "Julia, I know. Last night confirmed everything. This marriage deserves honesty, not excuses. I'm leaving, not because you broke me, but because I refuse to stay broken." There was no need for a dramatic confrontation. The truth was enough. When she found the note, her reaction was predictable. First came the denial, then the frantic calls. But I had turned off my phone. I wasn't interested in hearing rehearsed apologies or hollow justifications. She had her chance to be honest, and she chose deception. Days turned into weeks, and while mutual friends tried to mediate, I stood firm. There was no mending trust once it was shattered this way. Julia's carefully crafted life was unraveling, not because of my absence, but because of her own choices. In the end, following Julia that night wasn't about catching her. It was about confirming the truth my heart already knew. She thought I'd remain in the dark, fooled by her lies. But I saw everything. And sometimes, seeing the truth is all you need to finally let go.